start with David. Carrie, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to be working together later this week, and I'd love to talk about Pericles. Let's do this. Before I bring on David, let me just give a minute to talk about Carrie's show. So Carrie, she's putting her information at the bottom of the page on the chat. We were really hoping to have Carrie join us live on air to chat face to face, so to speak. But it seems like for some reason she's having some technical difficulties and she's not able to join us. So Carrie's link is at the bottom of the page on the chat. It's Shakespeare Sports Theatre Company.com. And Carrie, they are presenting a production of Pericles online. And that is going to be on October 11th, correct, Carrie? That's on October 11th, and it's on Zoom, and it's a let's see, best I can do live feed. Okay, so you can check out Carrie. You can click onto Carrie's profile, Carrie Isaacman, or you can look on our posts on New York Shakespeare. We have all of the information about her production of Pericles coming up. Carrie and I worked together for some time as part of the Fourth Folio Shakespeare with Genesis Rep with Jay Michaels many years ago, and we'll be doing a reprise of that later this week. I mentioned that at the top of the broadcast, so you can check that out. The details will be forthcoming on New York Shakespeare, and we'll be discussing Pericles in more detail. We'll be talking to Carrie, we'll be talking to some of the cast members, and we'll be exploring some of the questions around Shakespeare and the Apocrypha. And there's some people that say, oh, the romances, including Pericles and Cymbeline and The Tempest and some of those plays aren't Shakespeare because Shakespeare didn't write that style. He wrote comedies and he wrote tragedies. And then there are those that will say that, well, Pericles is a comedy. It ends in happiness and marriages. So it depends on who you ask. And there are all other types of scholarly thought about it, but we'll be discussing that. Again, Carrie, I hope we can squeeze you in at the end. There is time for you. I just technically it seems like we're not able to connect. So we'll David Serrero. Okay, we are going to try in our last moments here to connect with Carrie Edel Isaacman. We had hoped to have Carrie on as our first guest of the evening. Unfortunately, we had some.
I'm on.
You did it!
We
did it! Hooray! Okay, let me close out David's
Wow.
How are you, Carrie?
Shout out to Roger for loaning me his iPhone. I am okay. I was like very zen. I was like, it's okay that I'm not immediately on, so I better talk fast since I'm on. So we're talking about Pericles, right?
Absolutely.
Wow. I loved listening to everyone, but David Serrano, because of his work, is a big inspiration. That's another story though, but it is related. But maybe I'll focus on what why we're here is Pericles. So Shakespeare Sports is going to be doing Pericles online on Zoom, October 11th at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. For those of us who are not here in New York, and right. Most people are, but some are not. And so I'm really excited about it because I'm directing it. And when I was in my master's program in acting, that was the show that I worked on as an actor and producer. And I've recently been in touch with the person who directed, Miriam Eusebio, and thanked her so much for the research that she did and apologized for not doing a whole lot. And so now that through the studies I've been working on, I've filed through the different locations that Pericles travels, Pericles, who is ancient Greece, going through the Middle East. And I'm going, I'm so grateful to get to work on this play, like so humbled to get to know the Middle Eastern lands that I would like to know more of and more about.
And that's one of the things that's people find challenging about Pericles is that he goes on this journey through all these exotic foreign locations, and for some people they just don't have a reference point for what those locations are, or what that sounds like, or what that looks like. And you've done some work with the dialects and with the
yes.
history of those locations. Talk to us about that.
Thank you for kind of bringing that back to the point, which is that that what brought me back to and that's what I was hearing David Serrano talk about, was all of his research of what led him to his work. So I was like, okay, good, then I can talk about all of this.
Absolutely.
I think that the main thing was that when I was studying over this year in the classes, and is that the theme is what is a hero. So that is a very simple theme that everyone can relate to. And as I wrote down the list of these lands, I could bring them up. I have a list of them, of where they are in these ancient lands that have changed in our modern day Afghanistan and Syria. It brings it home for our neighbors, actually. But so that was what I had looked at, as the history of the lands that Pericles travels.
Right.
So.
And in your research, and this is kind of anticipating the discussion we're going to be having later this week as part of the Fourth Folio series with J. Michaels and Genesis Rep, did you find any challenges in believing that these lands actually A, exist, and B, that the writer, a British writer, would know about any of these things?
That's the thing, is that's what, if you're looking for a way to interpret what is this play, it's Gower, who is, an English and 14th century philosopher, who's going like, oh, I've got to tell you all these stories about, each land. And then that's basically how he introduces, I guess that Shakespeare has a reputation for not being very good about geography, because all of a sudden, for example, with Thaisa, he's talking about Ethiopia, and it's like, how did Ethiopia get to this particular land? And aren't we in the Middle East? Sure, we're in the Middle East, but this guy somehow from Ethiopia got all the way to the Middle East. Why not? He's an eligible bachelor. He'll make his way there. Why not?
So Carrie, tell us, we unfortunately, because of our technical
difficulties,
we're down to our last 2 minutes. So tell us, what is Shakespeare Sports Theatre? What is the approach with them as opposed to another company? Is it that you guys have a more physical style? What is different about Shakespeare Sports?
Well, the first thing I want to say is I love my cast. They're amazing. I'm so lucky to have an ensemble like that. But what's unique about us is that although we're going to be on Zoom, is that we do take a physical approach to the work. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's and we try that even though we're on Zoom, we will go, use our hand gestures to indicate out to the audience, because it is supposed to be theater. It is not a film format that we're using. So, I mean, it's like, even though we are on video, we are still theater makers. So,
and that's one of the biggest challenges that I've seen with theater companies doing Zoom productions, is that there is that challenge that people that do theater do it in a much broader style than people that make films. So for you to take that and put it into the Zoom format, I'm excited to see how that's going to work out.
Yep.
Where can people find the production, Carrie?
Well, I think most of the important details for the production are on my Facebook page at the Shakespeare Sports Theatre on Facebook, and then you'll find the Zoom link and everything there. It is free, but please donate to my on my website, ShakespeareSportsTheatreCompany.com, through the Fractured Atlas link on there, because then the funds will go towards the education program that I've been developing. I am focusing on Kelly Hunter's Heartbeat Method. That's another form that I study